I never used to believe that time could feel alive. But after that night, every time I see 2:17 a.m., my chest tightens, because that was the moment something learned I was awake. It started on a Tuesday night, nothing special, no storm, no power outage, just silence so deep it felt heavy. I had gone to bed early, exhausted, but sleep wouldn't come. I remember tossing and turning for what felt like hours, trying to will my mind to shut down. Eventually, I gave in and reached for my phone just to check the time. The screen glowed back at me. 2:16 a.m. With a sigh, I turned it face down on the nightstand and closed my eyes. Determined to finally get some rest, that's when I heard it, a knock. It wasn't loud. It wasn't urgent or frantic. It was just 3 slow, deliberate taps on my front door. Knock, knock, knock. I sat bolt upright in bed. My heart immediately started racing, but my mind was scrambling, trying to stay logical. Maybe someone was lost and needed directions. Maybe it was a neighbor with an emergency. But then this creeping, cold sensation washed over me. Something felt profoundly wrong, because I live alone. And my house is set pretty far back from the main road, hidden by trees. There's no gate bell, no easy path to my front porch. There is absolutely no reason for anyone to be knocking at my door, especially at that hour. I glanced at my phone again, my hand trembling slightly as I picked it up. 2:17 a.m. 1 minute had passed. As if on cue, the knock came again. The exact same rhythm, the same calm, unnerving patience. This wasn't the knock of someone who needs help. It was the knock of someone who knows you're already awake, knows you heard them the first time. I didn't move. I held my breath, listening. I told myself that if I stayed perfectly quiet, whoever it was would eventually give up and leave. They'd think the house was empty. The silence that followed was suffocating, seconds stretched into minutes. My ears were straining, trying to catch any sound, footsteps on the gravel, a car starting, anything. Then I heard something that made my blood turn to ice, a gentle, drawn-out exhale. It was right outside my front door. So close it sounded like someone had their face pressed against the wood. Listening. Waiting. My mind screamed at me to stay still, to hide, but that terrible human curiosity is a dangerous thing in the middle of the night. Slowly, carefully, I slid out of bed. The floor was cold against my bare feet. I crept toward the hallway, trying to make my steps as silent as possible, but every single floorboard seemed to complain under my weight. The hallway was dark, but a faint light was filtering in from the living room. As the front door came into view, my stomach dropped. That's when I noticed something impossible. The porch light was on. I never, ever leave it on. I'm meticulous about turning it off before bed. My heart started hammering against my ribs, and then another knock. But this time, it felt closer. The sound wasn't just coming from the other side of the door. It felt like it was coming from inside the door itself, vibrating through the wood. My hand was shaking uncontrollably as I reached for the peephole. I had to know. I had to see who was out there. Squeezing one eye shut, I leaned in and looked. There was no one there. Just my empty porch, bathed in that eerie, unnatural light. Still, quiet, but the feeling didn't go away. That powerful, gut-wrenching feeling that someone was standing right there, just out of sight. Maybe just below the peephole, or just to the side. I stumbled back, away from the door. As I did, my phone buzzed in my hand. A notification. It was from my home security app. The message on the screen read, "Front door activity detected," and below it, the timestamp, 2:17 a.m. With a deep breath, I opened the app, my thumb hovering over the Live Feed button. I needed to see the recording. The screen loaded slowly, pixel by pixel. For a second, the image froze. Then it refreshed, and I saw myself. I saw myself standing in the hallway, staring at the front door. The camera was filming me from the corner of the living room. I dropped the phone. It clattered to the floor. My stomach twisted into a knot. This wasn't possible. I picked it up again, my mind racing, just praying it was a glitch, a technical error. But as I looked at the screen, the image changed. The version of me on the camera feed, the one standing by the door, slowly turned its head to look directly at the camera, at me, and it smiled. A wide, unnatural smile that didn't reach its eyes. The knock came again. But this time it was right behind me. I spun around, a strangled gasp escaping my lips. The hallway was empty, but the door, the deadbolt, the lock was turning. Very, very slowly with a soft metallic click. I didn't think. I just ran. I sprinted back to my bedroom and slammed the door shut, locking it and pushing my entire body weight against it. My heart was pounding so hard I was sure it could be heard through the wood. Then I heard the footsteps. Heavy, measured. walking through my house, strolling through my living room with an ownership, a familiarity, like it already belonged there. The footsteps stopped right outside my bedroom door. The silence that followed was worse than any noise. And then a whisper. A voice that was almost mine, but not quite. It whispered, "Open up. You forgot something." I clamped my hand over my mouth to stop myself from screaming. The doorknob began to rattle, once, twice, violently. Then it stopped. Minutes passed. Or maybe it was hours. I stayed pressed against the door, too terrified to move, until the first rays of morning light started to peek through my window. Eventually, the silence felt real again. No footsteps. No breathing. Nothing. When the sun was fully up, I finally found the courage to open the door. The house was exactly as I had left it. No forced entry, no broken locks. Everything was in its place except for one thing. On the inside of my front door were 3 faint, dusty handprints. I moved out a week later. I went to a different city, found a different house. I installed new locks, new cameras, a whole new security system. But sometimes, when I can't sleep, I check the time. And my phone lights up. 2:17 a.m. with a notification from my new security app that simply says, "Door activity detected," because once something knocks for you at that hour, it never forgets where you live.